Hello, everybody. John Mitchell here, John A. Mitchell .tv, and this is my new YouTube channel. Today is July 5th, 2015, and I wanted to talk a little bit today about Greece. Now, we're not talking about Greece, anything to do with John Travolta. We're talking about the country of Greece, the nation over in Europe. And I've got a few notes here. So if you see me looking down, I'm looking at my notes because I don't have all these things memorized. But I just had a couple of thoughts because today, July 5th, Greece is or was voting on whether to accept terms of another financial bailout by the European Union. And it's interesting. I heard the other day somebody talk about how that's like you having a referendum with yourself about whether you're going to accept your girlfriend breaking up with you or not. Your girlfriend tells you, I'm breaking up with you, and you say, well, I don't want to let me vote on that and see if I accept it or not. Greece is in a situation where they really kind of either need to take this bailout or there's going to be hell to pay. But in any event, they are about, I was just checking some facts a little bit earlier, and they're about, their national debt in Greece is about 360 billion US dollars, give or take a little bit because of exchange rates and stuff, but $360 billion, and that works out to be about $33,000 a person. And it also works out that that's about 180% of GDP. Now, GDP, I don't want to get into, really complicated economic stuff, but just think about that as the amount of money that the country might bring in a year. So let's say if Greece has 180% GDP, let's say that's like you make a salary of $100,000 a year, and you got $100,000 worth of debt. So it would be, something similar to that. What a lot of people don't know is that we've got our own Greece type situation right here in our own backyard with Puerto Rico. Now, Puerto Rico has about $72 billion in debt. Their population is, by the way, only about 3.5 million people. And that puts their debt at about 68% GDP. So once again, imagine you make $100,000 a year and you got $68,000 worth of debt. Now, that works out to be about $20,500 per person. And that would seem manageable, even though, Governor of Puerto Rico came out just a few days ago and said, guess what, world, we are going to default. Creditors come to the negotiating table because we can't pay our debt. It's mathematically impossible, can't be done. And so, interestingly enough, they're, in their own eyes in kind of bad shape, but they are actually in better shape than Greece. And funny enough, if you look at the United States national debt, by the way, divided out by our population, looking at about $155,000 per person, every man, woman, and child in the United States, $155,000 worth of debt. And, funny enough, you say, well, but yeah, it doesn't matter because look at how much we make compared to other, other countries, which is true because our GDP, versus our debt is right around, we're right at about 102% GDP. And, I've read some economic papers that say anything up around up to 100% could be acceptable. That's not going to be, too much of an undue burden. And so we're probably all right, but, just some interesting numbers to throw out there. Greece is over in Europe, not a lot of exposure to Greek debt in the United States. I don't, people might ask, well, what do you think is going to happen? I don't think anything's really going to happen. Granted, if you look at history, look at like World War One, started over, one guy getting assassinated, so to speak. That's the conventional wisdom. And so what could happen? Well, there are people out there that say, well, the world economy and the world geopolitical situation is a tinderbox. We're sitting on a keg of TNT. and it only takes a small spark to to blow the whole thing up. And there's a grain of truth to that. Anything could happen. Anything could happen. My gut instinct, me personally, a regular guy here, just thinking out loud, I don't see where it's going to be a big deal, either Greece or Puerto Rico. Both of these situations are going to work themselves out. I saw one report about how a lot of Puerto Rico's debts held by United States bond funds, and that it might comprise something around maybe 5% of the holdings of these bond funds. Now, let's say you got let's say you got $100,000 in the stock market now, for just to take an example. If Puerto Rico just were to walk away and say, no, we're not going to pay a single dime, we're not going to pay a single penny of the money we owe. Let's say it's about $72 billion, and let's say that's 5% of U.S. bond funds. I don't know, I haven't looked this up, but I saw a report that was something in that, in that range. Well, let's say you've got $100,000 in the stock market for your retirement, and the stock market takes a dip and you go down, 5%. That would be the equivalent of Puerto Rico walking away and saying, no, we're not going to pay our debt. 5%, I mean, you could, it might sting when you open your monthly statement up, but, it's a $5,000 loss out of $100K. You're going to spread that out over your retirement anyway. Not a big deal. Any one of the, Greece is not going to affect us too much directly, and Puerto Rico, not much of a big thing, I'm thinking. So I don't see it really making a big deal for us here in the United States. So anyway, that's just a few thoughts I had. It's looking like the Greek referendum, the last thing I saw on the internet, looks like the Greek referendum, people are going to vote no. They're not going to go ahead and accept another bailout with all the onerous conditions. And so, just an interest in a couple of comments I had about the situation. Once again, thanks everybody for watching my video, and my name is John Mitchell, and I am at John A. Mitchell TV on YouTube, johnamitchell.tv on the internet, just getting this thing all set up and running, and I will have more videos and more commentary for you all in the future. Thanks for being with me, and see you next time.